Welcome to Lesbian Pirates of Baja. We are Shay and Yona, and we sail on Holoholo, our 38-foot sailboat in the Sea of Cortez, Mexico. We are in the middle of a complete refit of Holoholo. We are rebel sailors, we like to do our own work, think for ourselves, and don't like rules. We live close to nature and enjoy the rewards and trials of living on a sailboat. We value community, bartering, being free, and creating our own journey. This is very much a spiritual journey that challenges us in all ways possible. In November of 2018, Shay and I arrived back in San Carlos and Guaymas, ready to tackle a few projects Eileen May and get her in the water and do some cruising. When we opened up Eileen May and went below, we quickly realized that something was not right. The boat was filled with diesel fumes, so much so that there was no way that we were going to be able to live aboard.
Here's the mess. You can see that's where we're supposed to be sleeping. Not. That's where we're supposed to be sitting. Not. This is our view. And this is the one spot we have to sit.
Living the dream.
Say hi.
Hello.
So, after we arrived at the boat and it was obviously something wrong, you know, the fumes from the diesel was really
It was just
bad.
it was overwhelming. It was,
We couldn't even be down below for long
it was so
periods.
hard. And we didn't know what to we weren't really sure what to think, you know. It's like, okay, does it just need to get aired out, you know, because it's been closed up for the summer? Is there something else wrong? Did the engine crack and explode, and do we have diesel all over the place?
Yeah, I mean, since we had done that, replaced all the fuel lines and double checked that it wasn't the work we had done
Right.
wasn't the issue, and pretty sure the tanks were not leaking, and we know that for sure now that
Right,
it
the
wasn't
tanks, the tanks were fine.
But we were flummoxed, and so I think this put a wrench. This is when we had to stop and kind of take a breath, a beat, and be like, wait a minute, the plan that we had of going forward and upgrading Eileen May and, you know, putting some of the expensive equipment that we had bought into her, we were like, we can't do that until we figure out what is going on. And my intuition was going off like gangbusters, like we needed to investigate.
Yeah. We are going down the path of trying to figure out if the boat is viable. After we do this repair on the big hole in the bow. So we're going through all the major systems to make sure that they are working. This is the first time we have exposed the engine access, and we are trying to build courage to go down into the depths of the engine room. So, Yoni, you can do it. I believe in you.
I don't remember the proper moves, like elbow here, knee there.
I think it was just let gravity take your butt down to the hole.
I don't remember the move.
But remember, we removed those two screws that were bopping you on the head.
Thanks, yeah.
So, you can do it. Yay! There! Down into the depths. All right, check it all out. You're doing great. While we were investigating all of the systems and trying to figure out where the diesel fumes were coming from, I decided to move forward on the crack that was on the port side right below the tow rail. Now when we bought the boat, this was a small crack that had just developed according to the previous owners. And I had put some splash zone in it and cut and patched it up on our trip back up to, from Baja to Guaymas. So it was a temporary patch. So when I opened it up, man, it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And it became obvious that it was about 12 feet of tow rail that just crumbled. Everything was just crumbling, and all the chicken wire that was in with the ferro cement was rusted and gone. And the thing with the ferro cement boats, it has these tubular steels that act like ribs, and part of those were also disintegrated. So when I read through some of the old logs of the previous owner, I read that the boat had actually T-boned a dock. A piling. And so that T-bone was much bigger than just an accidental little crack. And again, buyer beware. It's all on us. We get it. It would have been nice if the owners were a little more truthful, but in the end, it's on us. Okay, so this is the end of the second day of putting holes in the boat. And this ended up being, well, frankly, a pretty big hole. Luckily, there's some good news. It's way above the water line, but it looks like we're gonna have to take the tow rail off and reform up the whole tow rail thing. Not a good thing.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Do it.
The tow rail was trashed, the rebar had disintegrated, and the whole thing would need to be reformed.
So we also uncovered some not insignificant holes in the bottom of the keel when I was sanding the hull. But at this point, we still thought this is manageable. We, read up and talked to people and learned about ferro cement hulls and how to repair them and what you needed, and the materials themselves were very affordable, but it was the labor involved and the time involved that it would take to do it. But we still felt like, even though this would be a major pain in the ass, this would mean no season for us at all this year, that we could still go forward at this point, that the boat was still viable.
Is it lunchtime? Okay. So if anybody had any illusions of how glamorous and romantic this life is, this pretty much proves that it's not. So, sanding the bottom. We went home one night and then we came back, and the bottom of the hull looked like it had chicken pox.
I remember driving up in the truck and looking at it and going, that wasn't there yesterday.
All these silver dollar holes, and they were weeping. So you had this little, I was all over the bottom of the hull. And I go up and I touch that weep and I smell it, and it's diesel.
So I remember sitting right like underneath the hull, looking at the boat, just sitting there and letting this sink in. What was happening was, somehow, we didn't know how yet, the diesel from that leak that we had repaired from the fuel lines had made its way into the hull. And cement and diesel don't mix. Diesel actually breaks down cement. And so what was happening now, there was so much diesel, I assume, in the hull.
Well, it's diesel.
It was it was coming out the sides of the hull, all over, not just like a little spot here and a little spot there, like, 10 feet by 5 feet section on one, and that was just one side.
It was devastating. It was kind of like the death knoll. It was like the sickle came in and went. Aah!
It was just, it was heart-wrenching. It was heartbreaking. It was just.
It's like all your little dreams just went imploded, exploded, all of them all at once. So.
And this was the impetus then for us taking I think, the batteries out from the bilge over the keel cap. And guess what was making its way down to that keel cap?
So from the bow, where the tanks are, through the lines, from where you fill in the tank, goes to the diesel tanks. That line, which had been all those mystery products of ASB and PVC and sanitary sewer lines, which had cracked, were now had dripped down along the hull and then seeped right into the crack of the keel cap. That's how the diesel got into the keel.
So we did enlist someone who had had a ferrocement boat before and had traveled the Pacific with it and knew quite a bit. And we had them come over and look at what we were looking at, just to make sure that we, were presuming things the right way, that we were understanding.
Our assessment, yeah.
Right. And so they looked at the crack, they looked at the pocks, and it was really sad because I remember he looked at us and was like, shook his head a little bit, and he really didn't know what to say to us. You can't really, what do you say to someone? Your boat is
Your
shit.
boat is dead.
And I just like, oh man, So, we did get an outside opinion before we came to the decision that this
boat is dead. So this is once you have diesel that's pretty much trapped into your keel, it's not repairable. We would have had to recast the whole keel. Well, that's not viable for a ferrocement boat that we spent $18,000 on.
Well, we did actually we looked into seeing what it would cost, but it would have cost like more than the purchase price of the boat.
So,
and years maybe, to do this. So it wasn't a feasible option to do a repair at this point.
There is light at the end of this sad tale, but you'll have to wait until next episode to find out the twist in the story.